how long does guerrilla tactics need to, be implemented before that actually is conventional warfare? Like at this point, there's no standing armies lining up across the battlefield from each other anymore, right? Like, isn't all unconventional warfare today, or all warfare today, technically unconventional?
The warfare that I fought in is very unconventional because, there's no declared two sides of the army, right? You're not, you're in this uniform, I'm in this uniform, this is the battlefield. No, it's the battlefield is in the United States. The battlefield's in Yemen, Sana'a, in Iraq, Afghanistan, all these different areas. The battlefield for me was the secret wars, so, and that's what I mean. So when Vietnam fell to that, they started raging unconventional warfare. They knew, look, guys, warfare is expensive. We know that, right? After Afghanistan, Iraq, warfare is expensive. So the Chinese, if you study their tactics under Sun Tzu, warfare is expensive. They'll never employ soldiers to put a footprint there for too long. Americans do, and that's our mistake. Right? So we employ Americans overseas. We're funding Americans to fight these wars right overseas. How expensive is it to keep Americans overseas? How expensive is it to afford ammunition, supplies, weapons, the assets like the drones?
Potentially, intentionally so, though. I mean, the industrial military complex has made a lot of people mega wealthy, and they've never had to step foot outside of D.C.
Exactly. So when the country fell to communism, eventually it failed to communism, and Americans pulled out because it was an expensive war. It was an unpopular war. It was an unpopular war because up until then, the media censored everything. Right, so do you think about World War II, right? Think about World War II, World War I, the Philippines, all these different wars. You watch that, the media censors everything. It wasn't until the Vietnam War was when they allowed reporters to come in. And unfortunately, guys, hey, look, when you see women and children dying in warfare and you see the true realities of war, it's ugly, and it smells, and it stinks. So when America is getting a snapshot of, I don't know, a American killing a civilian. Is it a civilian? Because I've been in countries where rebels would come in and wipe out a whole village and have an 8-year-old. Is he now a militant, or is he still a child because he just killed his parents? You see, it's a different world, that's what I'm saying to you. So, when Vietnam fell to that and the Americans, they could not sustain this unpopular, very expensive war that's unconventional. They're not used. In fact, the Green Berets and the Special Forces were developed to combat, this insurgency. That's where it came from. So when that country fell to it, Ho Chi Minh was able to establish a more communist regime. And his main concern, once he took over the country, South Vietnam, was to make sure that our leaders would never rise up to power again, like Afghanistan. Think about it, like anybody who hold position of power, they're murdered. They're killed, right? So the same with the Vietnamese. If anybody holds position of power, like my uncles had, they were officers. They were drugged out to the camps and tortured. We were oppressed.
Simply for what? Opposing ideas that they did not agree with, ideas that contradicted what they believed in.
Well, like, Sarajevo, Bosnia, people, different ideologies. They'll wipe out a whole existence because you don't believe what they believe.
Yeah, and dissension, disagreement seen as dissension. It's not seen as civil discourse. One of the great things about the way our country was founded is it was founded on civil discourse. Let's have this disagreement. Let's have the two houses argue it out, and then let's have it, then let's, have a law, as opposed to the top-down, decree, mandate from the king, right? So,
but I want to say this because when I came over to America, right, because I lived in I lived in a refugee camps for 1.5 years, guys.
In where?
In Indonesia, and it was a grass hut in the middle of the jungle. You have to survive. You have to live off the land. They don't give you anything.
Hipsters do that for vacation now too.
They do.
They get
It's very
coffee
spiritual. It's very spiritual because what's really weird is that we are all successful men. And we value certain things. But I tell you, man, when I went into these third world countries and these villages where there was nothing, they were happy. So what are we doing wrong? We're looking at the externals to be happy. It goes underneath samurai teachings, it goes underneath, but we look for the externals to make ourselves happy these days, right? So I think that's what's wrong with America and what's wrong with a modern day society. If you go to these third world countries, they are happy because they're around their families and they're around their friends.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.